You are exhausted, not the kind of tiredness that sleep fixes. I'm talking about a different kind of exhaustion, the kind that comes from spending your whole life waiting for someone to tell you that you did good, that you made the right choice, that you're enough. I know that exhaustion. Lord knows I do, because I lived inside it for 61 years. My name is James. I'm 79 years old, and I want to tell you something today that took me more than 6 decades to understand. Something so simple, it's going to embarrass you when you hear it. Not because it's complicated, because it isn't, because part of you already knows it, and you've been running from it anyway. But before I give you that sentence, before I hand you the thing that changed everything for me, I need to hold a mirror up to your face. Because you think you don't need other people's approval. You've told yourself that story. You've said it out loud, maybe even believed it for a little while. But let me ask you something. When was the last time you made a decision, a real decision, about your life, your work, your family, and didn't feel a small knot in your stomach wondering what someone else would think? You can't answer that question. That's the point. Stay with me. I'm going to tell you what that sentence is, but first, you need to understand what it cost me not to know it. Subscribe to this channel while you still can, because I don't have unlimited time left on this earth, and neither, friend, do you. I grew up in Shreveport, Louisiana, born 1946, second of 5 children. My father's name was Amos Carter. He worked at a paper mill for 33 years. There's 6 days a week, 12 hours a shift. He smelled like sulfur and sweat every night he came home. And every night, before he sat down to eat, he would look at whatever we'd done that day and say one thing. Is that the best you can do? Not good job, not I'm proud of you. Just that question, sharp and flat at the same time, like a screen door that needs fixing. Is that the best you can do? I thought he was hard. I thought he didn't love me. I spent the better part of 30 years trying to prove to that man that I was worth something, working double shifts at the Postal Service, getting commendations I kept in a drawer hoping he'd ask to see them, buying a house in a neighborhood I couldn't quite afford because I wanted him to walk through the door and look surprised. He died in 1979. He was 62 years old. My heart gave out on a Thursday morning in the driveway. I was 33. And you know what his last words to me were? He said, "James, stop working so hard for other people." I didn't understand what he meant. Not then. I thought it was the medication talking. I thought it was just the thing dying men say when they run out of other things to say. I went right back to work the following Monday. I spent the next 26 years still not understanding. Here's what I need you to see about yourself. You think you're working hard for your goals. You think you're chasing your dreams. But I want you to stop for a moment, and I mean really stop, and ask yourself who's watching when you picture success. Is it just you? Or is there a face, a parent, a boss, an ex-partner who told you that you'd never make it? A brother who seems to have everything figured out? A neighbor, a teacher from 30 years ago whose voice you can still hear when you fail? There's a face. There's always a face. You're not living your life. You're performing it. And the audience in your head has been sitting in those seats for so long, you forgot they were ever strangers. I know this because I did it. I did it for 61 years. And when I finally saw it, when I finally understood what my father was trying to tell me with his dying breath, I sat down in my kitchen in Baton Rouge, in the house I bought to impress a dead man, and I wept for an hour straight. Not because I was sad, because I was free. If what I'm saying is landing somewhere deep in you right now, if you're feeling something shift, subscribe to this channel. There's more where this came from. Every story I tell is one less truth you have to learn the hard way. Let me tell you about Raymond. Raymond was my supervisor at the Postal Service from 1971 to 1986. White man. Thin. Always wore a tie, even on Saturdays. Name was Raymond Phelps. And Raymond Phelps did not believe that a black man from Shreveport with a high school diploma should be running a distribution route in East Baton Rouge. He didn't say that to my face. He didn't have to. He said it in the way he reviewed my performance reports, always finding one small thing, one notation, one asterisk that kept me from the next grade level. He said it in the way he'd bring in younger men, less experienced men, men who looked like him, and fast-track them past me. I worked at that postal service for 22 years. 22 years? I was good at my job. I was excellent at my job. And for 15 of those years, I spent enormous energy trying to get Raymond Phelps to see that. I dressed better than I needed to. I arrived earlier than I needed to. I volunteered for routes nobody wanted, holidays, bad weather, dangerous neighborhoods. Because I thought if I was visible enough, indispensable enough, eventually Raymond Phelps would have to acknowledge what I was. He never did. He retired in 1986 without ever giving me what I was looking for. And I stood at his retirement party in a room full of people clapping for a man who had held me back for 15 years. And I clapped too. I clapped because some part of me still believed, that if I was gracious enough, dignified enough, decent enough, eventually the Raymond Phelpses of this world would hand me what I was owed. That's what seeking validation from the wrong people costs you. Not just the opportunity, not just the time. It costs you your own sense of what's real. It makes you stand in a room and applaud your own diminishment. Here is the sentence. My father's sister, my Aunt Cora, was 81 years old, living in a small house in Natchitoches, Louisiana, sharp as a tack. Grew up in the same segregated world my father did. Survived things I don't have time to name in this video. And when I drove up to see her in the summer of 2007, I was 61 years old, recently retired, and still carrying around the weight of every person who had ever looked at me and found me wanting. I told her the whole story. My father, Raymond, I'm the house I bought to impress a ghost, the 30 years of double shifts. She listened to all of it, didn't say a word. Then she set down her sweet tea, looked at me, and said, "Baby, a hungry man doesn't need permission to eat." That's it. That's the sentence. A hungry man doesn't need permission to eat. Not from his father, not from his supervisor, not from the man who doubted him or the woman who left him or the system that was designed to keep him small. A hungry man, a man who knows what he needs, what he's built for, what he's called to, does not wait for someone else to hand him the fork. I sat with that sentence for 3 days before I let it in all the way. And when it landed, when it really landed, I understood for the first time what my father had been trying to tell me in that driveway. Stop working so hard for other people. He didn't mean to stop working hard. He meant to stop making other people's opinions the fuel. Stop letting their approval or disapproval be the thing that decides whether you move forward or stand still. Feed yourself. Feed yourself from your own hunger. That's the only table that matters. Now, I need to speak to you directly. How old are you? 25? 32? 47? It doesn't matter. How many years have you already given to the Raymond Phelpses in your life? How many decisions have you delayed because you were waiting for someone? A parent, a partner, a mentor, a stranger on the internet, to tell you it was okay to go. How many mornings have you woken up and made choices based not on what you wanted, but on what would make someone else see you differently? How many times have you shrunk? I want you to answer that question honestly, not to me, to yourself, right now, while you're listening. Because here's what 79 years teaches you. The people whose approval you're chasing are not thinking about you as much as you think. They have their own hunger, their own ghosts, their own unfinished business, and most of them, are doing exactly what you're doing, performing for an audience that isn't really watching. My father worked 33 years at that paper mill, 6 days a week, smelling like sulfur, trying to prove to a world that had already told him his answer that he was worth something. His whole life was spent seeking validation from a system designed to deny it. And in his last breath, he looked at his son and said, "Don't do what I did. Don't spend your life hungry, waiting for someone to tell you you're allowed to eat." I'm going to ask you to do one thing before you move on today. Think of the one decision you've been putting off. The one thing you know in your bone, is right for you. The one step you've been waiting to take until someone gives you permission, and ask yourself, whose permission exactly are you waiting for? Is that person God? Are they the wisest human beings on earth? Do they love you more than you love yourself? Or are they just someone whose opinion you assigned too much weight too long ago, without even realizing you'd done it? Feed yourself. That's what my Aunt Cora gave me at 81 years old, in a small house in Natchitoches, with a glass of sweet tea in her hand. No pity, not advice, permission. But not the kind that comes from outside. The kind that reminds you that the permission was always yours. I'm 79 years old. I don't know how many more summers I have. Not many. And I'm telling you right now, the sentence that freed me is not magic. It's not complicated. It's just a truth that takes some people 60 years, and a dying father, and an 81-year-old aunt to finally hear. A hungry man doesn't need permission to eat. Go eat. And if these words have reached something in you that needed reaching, subscribe to this channel, because I've got more truth left in me before my time runs out, and I intend to use every last bit of it.